Hey guys, Tim here again, Kelly Corner. In this video, I'm just going to talk about a KOA campground that we stayed at when we went to visit some relatives. Campground is located about 30 to 45 minutes south of Charlotte, North Carolina. It's in Fort Mill, South Carolina. This is one of the many KOA campgrounds in America that you can stay at. And we did a little quick visit here. This was just a quick overnight stay. We were visiting some relatives, like I said, and I happened to take some video and wanted to kind of talk about it for a minute here in case anybody is ever near that area and needs a quick place to stay or is curious about this KOA. This is again in Fort Mill, South Carolina. This KOA offers many of the same amenities that are offered in much of the KOA campgrounds. Fairly large sites, not very wooded, I would say. Paved roads. They claim no highway noise. Well, the campground is maybe not even a quarter of a mile away from I-77, Interstate 77. So yeah, you do hear some traffic there, but all in all, it's not that noticeable, but you do hear some highway noise. This campground does offer full hookups, which is available at most of the sites on this campground. The sites do include free cable. There is Wi-Fi, albeit a bit scarce, and you'll have to go in where you check in to get that Wi-Fi, and I will talk about that in a moment. There is, at the time that we went there, which was maybe 2015, I think it was, there was a mini golf course, but it looked like it was being repaired or perhaps torn down. I'm not sure which. There is a nice pool there, small size pool for the kids to cool off in. Wasn't a bad looking pool. There was a picnic area pavilion if you have groups. Not a bad looking pavilion either, I would say. And there also is cabin rentals at this location. So there are a few, maybe a handful, not bad looking. The bathrooms, so-so, they weren't the cleanest bathrooms, but they weren't the dirtiest, so, not bad there. Another good thing about this campsite is they claim to offer an on-site RV sales and service center, so that may be a positive thing for people who pull in RVs to this campground. The campground is nicely located very close to a Publix grocery store, which you can actually walk to, and it's very close to a Walmart, and as you can see, there's a few other restaurants that are available in the vicinity. Well, I think one of the biggest things about the location of this KOA campground is its proximity in relation to a very large amusement park, and a pretty well-known amusement park in this part of the United States, in North Carolina, Carowinds. This is a very large amusement park that has some of the world's fastest roller coasters. It is really a massive, all about roller coaster park, pretty much, I would say. Is if you love roller coasters, Carowinds, you have to visit that if you're in the area. And staying at this campground, probably maybe 20-minute drive or so, if that, to get to Carowinds. So conveniently located there, and it's conveniently located to a few other attractions like lakes and museums, theaters. At the time we went, the campground was fairly empty. I would imagine though, during the peak season, with Carowinds being nearby, it probably packs in a fair bit. So definitely make your reservations. You can go to the KOA.com and take a look at what pricings and availabilities are. When you arrive at this campground, you're looking for a main office, and there really isn't one visible. There's a gas station called Valero. There's also a little small restaurant called John's Place that's connected to the convenience store. There is a KOA sign out on the corner. However, there's no real way of knowing where to check in. Well, you have to go inside the convenience store to check inside there. That's where you get checked in at. So now it does look like there's a small area of this campground where permanent campers stay in RVs. But I will say that the campground has skillfully kind of blocked that off from the rest of the campground. It's kind of fenced off. You can't really see it. You can kind of see the tops of some of those RVs, but it wasn't really an eyesore. So I'll give them credit for that. There are full-time RVers there that look like they live there. Bike riding, pretty good, not bad, simply because it's all gravel to paved roads all over the campground. So bike riding wasn't bad. There are no nature trails per se, or hiking trails or biking trails, but you can, easily ride your bike around the park. That wasn't so bad. But here is one thing that may be a deal breaker for some. It wasn't for Christi and I, because we actually are intrigued by things like this, which is this campground here in Fort Mill hosts every year, well, up until 2015, hosts every year, every Halloween, an event called Campground Nightmare. And from the information that I have gathered, a man named John Trigg owns or sponsors or puts on this event. One of the unique things about this campground is that it has a large skull facade at one of the buildings that are located in the campground. This is a two-story building that looks like that they had built a Halloween facade with, looks like an old mansion with a big skull head and a lot of small skulls embedded into the walls and skeletons and cobwebs. It was all, the facade was made out of a type of a foam. If you walk in other areas of the campground back to where I think where they have the primitive camping, they have a fenced off area, but you can peek through the fences and you can see tons and lots of other Halloween facades and decorations, props. We were impressed. It was an impressive amount of Halloween paraphernalia everywhere, and you could tell by looking through the fence that they put on some sort of a Halloween walkthrough. You can kind of see some of the behind the scenes or off-season stuff that they did. Like I said, Christi and I we love stuff like that. This certainly is not something you would expect to see at a campground, especially like a KOA campground, any campground for that matter. It was a pleasant surprise to us. It may be a deal breaker for others. Now I will say this Campground Nightmare, I don't know how many years it went on, but I do know from the research that I've done is I think 2015 was their last year. From what I can tell, they do not do that anymore as of 2015. And at this point in time of making this video, I am not even sure if any of that facade is even still up. They may have tore it down, they may have gotten rid of it, I don't know. But got to bring it up because that's what we saw while we were there, and it's something that we'll never forget. So yeah, I can definitely say this isn't the worst campground we've ever stayed at, and it's not the best campground we've ever stayed at either. But if you're looking for a quick place to stay that's conveniently located near Charlotte, North Carolina, try this KOA at Fort Mill, South Carolina. That's 940 Gold Hill Road, Fort Mill, South Carolina. Head over to KOA.com for more details, pricing, availabilities, and to make your reservations. I just threw up this quick little video because this is one of those places that we quickly camped at and then we left, but I did take some footage of it, and yeah, figured I'd share it with you. Okay everyone, we'll see you next time on the Kelly Corner.